Stone? Yeah. There's a guy buried in my pool.
Hollywood Pictures and ZM Productions invite you behind the scenes to the making of Encino Man. Join Sean Astin, Brendan Fraser, and MTV's Totally Pauly Shore as they discover what happens when the Stone Age meets the Rock Age.
The movie's about these two loser kids from Encino, and we find a caveman in his backyard. We take the caveman to school, and it makes us cool.
This guy's our ticket to fame and popularity. All we gotta do is get him enrolled in school, and he'll help us become popular.
Wow, who's the guy with the dork squad? Is he fun or what?
He's a looker.
Link, be careful!
Brendan Fraser plays Link, our caveman. He was able to take our situations and create comedy from anything that surrounded him.
Flamage.
We gotta teach him stuff. We gotta teach him how to be normal.
We're going psycho with him, bro.
I'm too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt. So sexy it hurts. And
There's nothing he won't put in his mouth. He's curious. He plays with things.
From salsa to bath beads to, gutter water to margarine. He did it all.
Oh boy! Dog food! Again!
This is George Zaloom. He is the producer.
Pauly is really spontaneous, and he comes up with all this kind of like stuff like off the top of his head, out of the middle of nowhere. Like he Paulyizes everything.
What are you doing, Mrs. Stoney?
We figure we's a little juice.
No, we sing the juice.
No, we sing the juice! You took him to Mega Mountain? Are you crazy? This is just an absolute, straight-ahead comic.
Mr. Link, what do you say to your critics who claim you're not a real caveman?
Hey, come here.
Now that was funny.
I'll be back.
Hi, I.D.K. I discuss Kino. And today we are talking about the film Encino Man. This is, of course, part of a retrospective on the rise, the fall, and rise again of the whale himself, Brendan Fraser. With me to discuss this film is Sam Whitfield of the Whitfield Report.
Hi, how you doing? Happy to be here.
Hi, Sam. Happy to be here too. We're always happy to be here. Now, what do you do, Sam?
Well, I do a myriad of things. I'm a freelance writer by day, podcaster by night, and I'm also a self-published thriller author. And then on the side, I also like to just, review movies and also laugh at random weird people on the internet as well. So
Yeah, I didn't know you write books because what I mainly know you for is you and me. We both we both interact with this online character Mersh. If you don't know who Mersh is, he's basically the biggest lolcow who's not like autistic or just has like something screwed up with his brain, right? Like he's as far as he's like Jordan Belmont. He got that way all by himself.
Yeah, so my whole thing with Mersh is he's one of these guys who like tried to LARP as like a right wing conservative type during the
Well,
2016 election, even though
he
like he's not conservative at all.
well, hang on. He didn't LARP as a conservative. He LARPed as an alt-right guy. Press 1 in the chat if you hate Jews like I do. Like that's what he LARPed at first. And then he realized, oh wait, maybe pretending to be like a racism, anti-Semite guy, that might hurt my chances in Hollywood. Or something like that. He's a real dumb guy, but yeah. Fake race that's a weird thing to get upset about, a guy pretending to be racist. He's not authentic with how much he thinks the Holocaust didn't happen or whatever. But yeah, he's like a fake conservative. He's a grifter. He's a liar. He's fat. He's bald. He's a loser. He's a junkie. He's just overall a bad person. And a good way to exemplify that is Sam is in a wheelchair. That's important because one time Mersh decided to call the cops on all the people he did not like or made fun of him. And, you know, all those people, they ragged on him. The pot awfuls, the porcelains, all them. But the only guy Mersh was willing to go up against, hit back on, was Sam, the guy in a wheelchair.
From Hollywood Pictures.
Como está usted?
Ever since Stoney and Dave interrupted his million-year siesta, this teenage caveman...
A caveman?
...is having a non-stop blast.
Try the salsa.
He's on a roll, out of control, and turning into the party animal of the year.
Weasel!
Encino Man.
Don't harsh his gig, buddy.
Rated PG. Thawing May 22nd at a theater near you.
Mersh, he picks on you. You're in a wheelchair. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, so Mersh was beefing with a friend of mine named Alan Powell, who Alan Powell was trolling a guy named Owen Benjamin, who Mersh was also trolling at the time. That's kind of how Mersh became famous. And basically, Alan like pranked Owen better than Mersh did, so that's why their beef started. And then literally, like I'm missing a few details, but like, you know, to make a long story short, I invited Alan onto my podcast to talk up Mersh, like calling the cops on everyone who he hates. And basically, Mersh flipped out on me that I had Alan on my show because, like, I had interviewed Mersh on my show like 2 years earlier, and like ever since then, he thinks that like I owe him or something. Even though like I've been podcasting since like 2008. I've been podcasting for like a really long time.
Yeah,
right?
but think about this, Alan. Remember when he got to host X Fest in like 2007? He's pretty much the most famous guy we know.
Yeah.
I think he gave you a big push. I mean, come on, X Fest 2007.
Well, I mean, you know, I don't want to brag too much, but if you want to know who gave me my real push, it's Ben Shapiro. Actually, I interviewed Ben on my show back in 2012. So that was like, yeah. Compared to that, Mersh is like, you know, nothing.
I mean, some people always like, oh, Ben Shapiro, actual. Some people might not like him. Actual famous man who's been on TV or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, his cousin was Matilda in that 90s kids film.
Yeah.
She was in Mrs. Doubtfire as well.
Yeah, but no, like I've interviewed actual like famous people, and Mersh is like. Here's the thing, like Mersh thinks he's an A-list celebrity, but he's not even like a D-list celebrity. He's
He
you know he literally is an E-celeb.
Yeah, he might even be lower than an E celeb. He might actually be a Z celeb. You know, like if this was the 1950s, Mersh would be in a drive-in B movie that has a budget of $10,000, and he'd have one scene where he's the guy working at the diner. Yeah, I saw crazy lights over in the barn. That's what like he would be doing. Um, But Mersh goes after you out of all the people you go after, and we all believe it's because you are in a wheelchair. And I guess he thinks that means you're weaker, but I mean,
Yeah.
you make video.
Well,
Like
he thought I was an easy target, but basically like I made fun of him for like for making fun of for making fun of me because his whole thing is like, I'm friends with Alan Powell, so therefore like I'm a bad guy. But I basically called Mersh an idiot in my like rebuttal to him, and he didn't like that. He also didn't like that like I went on all the podcasts of people that he hated and got way more traction because of that.
yeah,
So
but what I'm
yeah.
interested is, you know, he decides to go after you because you're in the wheelchair, which makes no sense to me because this is all on the internet. We type. Maybe Merch thinks people type with their feet, but you not being able to use your legs does not affect your ability to talk on a podcast or write a tweet making fun of Mersh.
Right.
Yeah, that's just like how it's like Alan can't beat me up. His legs. Like, does Merch think you're going to jump through your computer, travel through cyberspace, and then jump out of his computer screen and beat him up? Like, what does he think? Like, it makes no sense.
Mersh thinks that the fact that I'm in a wheelchair makes me an easy target. Like, he thinks that because I'm in a wheelchair, I must be like ultra sensitive or something like that, right?
No, that's
But
not what I
like,
think. I think it's because you can't beat him up. You know, he thinks if you were chasing him down, he could outrun you because you're in a wheelchair, which isn't even true because Mersh is massively overweight, a smoker, poor health. You could get out of the chair and crawl and probably chase Mersh down. It makes no sense.
the funny thing is,
And we're on the internet.
like
He's not. We're not coming. Like it doesn't matter. He's gonna make a video about it. It's not like he's like gonna come to your house and beat you up. Like it makes no sense.
even if he tried to, like, I actually have like pretty good upper body strength. Like, I'm not saying like I'm Mike Tyson, but like or anything, but like people are surprised by my upper body strength, and so like yeah, if if Merch were to try and like beat me up, I could probably give him like a good left hook, or
Yeah. You ever seen the
the other thing
movie
is like
Mr. No Legs?
uh no, but that's
It's
actually
about
what he
a
called me.
Yeah, well, that's so
So
stupid because do you know who Mr. No Legs is? It's a movie about a guy in a wheelchair who has guns on his wheelchair and he's like a badass criminal guy who's played by this guy who is actually in a wheelchair. He didn't have legs. And despite not having legs, he was able to become a black belt in karate and win a tournament. We'll probably
I
bring you
mean
on to cover that.
that sounds pretty based.
Yeah, that sounds like a really dumb nickname for Merch to give you. It's like, oh, you're telling me this guy's a badass that can do karate? I don't know, Merch. That doesn't seem like a good insult. But anyway, Merch, he's an idiot. That's how I know you. because we make fun of this guy, fat, loser, pathetic. Now, let's talk about the actual thing people know about, because Mersh is a nobody. Only we know about him. He's the world's biggest lolcow, but nobody knows about him except like maybe 1,000 people. Encino Man. Encino Man's a movie from the early 90s. It features Pauly Shore, Sean Astin, who was one of the hobbits from Lord of the Rings. I believe he was Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was Sam from Lord of the Rings. And of course, Brendan Fraser, he plays Link, the caveman. The plot of the movie is Pauly Shore and Sean Astin. They're digging a pool in the backyard to impress all the cool kids, and they end up digging up a caveman, and they decide to bring the caveman to school to make themselves popular somewhat. This is all about our retrospective on the career of Brendan Fraser, his rise, his fall, his rise again. And something that's interesting is who's in this movie is, I gotta check his name. Ki Kwan, I think. Ki Ku Kwan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is also in this movie, and he and Brendan Fraser on the same night both won Oscars, I believe. So a lot of people went on to do from this movie went on to do a lot of stuff, except for kind of Pauly Shore.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pauly Shore is Pauly Shore.
Yeah.
He's kind of Pauly Shore is like the Mersh of like comedy. I get,
That's a
I
bit
guess,
of
but like
that is a bit of a stress.
actually somewhat, but like he's actually been successful, but he's still kind of like the butt of everyone's joke, in
Yeah,
Hollywood, so to
yeah. The
speak.
thing about Pauly Shore is, his mom ran the comedy club, which was the biggest comedy. That's where you had to go if you wanted to like get on like late night or whatever back
Yeah,
in the
yeah, the
day.
Comedy Store.
Comedy Store.
So
Wow, I'm stupid. But that's kind of how he got in. But I was looking over the career of Pauly Shore. This film made a lot of money. It was a big hit, and so were all his other films. Even Biodome, despite being called one of the worst movies of all time, still made money. It was still actually a hit, which is crazy. People liked Pauly Shore, teenagers from the '90s, and I wasn't that into it because I was not a teenager in 1993. But I understand why someone from that time would like it, or how they would like relate. I think he did touch. He, I think he tapped into the zeitgeist or something.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
Well,
he
I mean,
really did.
I think the other thing, like, kind of in with that whole thing is in the '90s there was kind of that whole like dumb kind of dumb buddy movie. Like,
Yeah,
you had like Bill and Ted,
Beavis Butthead.
um, Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah,
And yeah, like Encino Man is like kind of in that like genre of films, kind of like the dumb buddy, antic movie.
yeah.
So
Well, that's what's interesting. Is the dumb guys are really Brendan Fraser as the caveman, and Pauly Shore's Stony character. He's called Stony because he smokes weed or something. You never see him, but
right.
that's the assumption. Also, Stone, Stone Age. It's weird they didn't try to do any like, oh man, I'm in the Stone Age, smoke a weed or something like that. But I guess people weren't ready for that. I was a little bit ahead of the times. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's one thing. What were your general kind of thoughts of the movie?
I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't say it's like one of my favorites, but it's certainly, an enjoyable throwback, to like the '90s. And it also um like I was reading online that like the movie often gets referred to as like California Man, even though it specifically takes place in Encino. But yeah, like I thought it did a really good job of like portraying like a lot of like California tropes, which haven't really changed a whole lot in the past 30 years, to be honest.
Yeah,
So like
Pauly Shore's like a surfer dude, except he never surfs.
right, and you've still got like one of the scenes that stands out to me is like the whole stoners going into the convenience store at like 3 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah.
to like get munchies. Like that's totally a thing
Yeah,
too.
that
So
is a thing. That's kind of a goofy scene. You know what weirded me out with that scene where they go in, it's like the middle of the afternoon, they go in to get he's teaching Link, the caveman, how to get his snackage, how to get his grubs. And they go to the Slurpee machine and the sign says Coca-Cola, but like the stuff that comes out is all white and like weird looking. What do you think that really was?
I mean it was probably like one of those like 7-Up like slushy things
Yeah, but
or
it's
something.
yeah, but it said Coke on the label, and the other one they did was normal. Is it like they didn't put in the? What do you think? They didn't put in the flavoring, or like maybe it like wasn't good, or they were reusing it, or something weird? Because they do that stuff in movies where it's not really food; it's something that looks like food.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it could also be like a parody of like real life too, because like as an example, like sometimes you go into like a McDonald's or something like that, and they have like you press the button that says like Coke on like like the drink machine, but then it'll come out as like Dr. Pepper or something instead. So
Yeah,
might have been like a mislabel. So who knows?
good point. They go to the amusement park. I really like when they go to the amusement park. I like some of the shots they do in that film. There, where it's like it shoots them getting up on the roller coaster, all those type of like you see their reactions to going whoa and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Uh, you know, I liked Pauly Shore in this movie. That's one thing I would say. I don't get why people would say he's annoying. I can totally. Have you seen any of his other movies?
I saw oh shoot. Well I know I've seen like I saw Biodome like a long time ago. Um and then did he do was he one of the guys in Reno 911? I can't remember. Let me
I'm not sure at all. But I'm more talking about his '90s era where he was super popular, but he was kind of hated by critics. One of those guys who's hated by critics, but the kids loved him. They think his antics are funny, where he wears his outfit and goes like, "Oh, Major Conage, bro," or whatever. I mean, I don't fully get it, but I didn't find it annoying. I didn't find it super funny, but I didn't find it annoying. I didn't find it obnoxious. I didn't see any issues with it. I know that Pauly Shore for a while has been, kind of like a joke. He's a guy that everyone kind of like rags on, says, "Oh, he's bad, his sucks, his movie's terrible." Maybe all of his other movies are terrible. I'm not gonna lie. That could very much be the case. I'm probably never gonna bother to find out, but that's the
I
deal.
don't I don't hate him. I think part of the thing is like I think it's kind of become like a meme to hate on him,
Yeah.
but like
He's a guy that's
I
popular
don't
to
know.
hate.
Yeah.
Because I do on this podcast, we talk about the Razzies, and a lot of times, you'll notice that, oh, why did this person get nominated? Why did this movie get nominated? And you find out it's like, oh, it just has one of those celebrities that people love to hate. They love to hate, like, they love to hate on Madonna. They love to hate on Adam Sandler. They love to hate on, right now, the person they love to hate on, because we're starting all the way back from the 80s, Farrah Fawcett. And you kind of ask yourself, okay, I get that sometimes Madonna's a bad actress. I get sometimes Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
But I have no idea what their beef with Farrah Fawcett was, and I don't think I ever will understand that. You know who else they had a beef with? Brian De Palma.
Yeah. Well, so the Farrah Fawcett thing, I actually think I could explain,
Oh,
which
wow.
is they hate the fact that Farrah Fawcett was like hot, and they don't think that like hot people should be allowed to like act or be in movies, which is like weird, but
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, so you think it's because she Charlie's Angel, you think it was just like, oh, here's a dumb hot person, she's not a real actress
yeah,
on TV.
what's she doing here or something like that. Yeah, like Demi Moore got that treatment too
Oh,
from
yeah.
the Razzies.
Yeah,
So
you notice there's a lot of just being mean-spirited. They give a lot of awards to kids too, is something I find out. And you gotta wonder, it's like they're like 8. We're talking about 8-year-olds.
yeah,
Like we'll be like, hey kid, you fucking sucked. You were such a bad actor, and it's just like they barely know what acting is. They're just doing what their parents
well,
tell
it's
them to do. They still believe
yeah,
in Santa.
and Macaulay Culkin from the Home Alone movies actually talked about that when he went on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Oh.
Um, like he talked about like how he got like a lot of crap, for being like a child actor, but like I don't know. In retrospect, like he's actually like turned out like normal. I think
Yeah.
like it seems like he has a pretty like like decent life.
Yeah.
I think he like started. I think he like. I think he disappeared and then like started a business or something like that. Like
Yeah.
he didn't try and ride like the wave of like childhood fame.
Yeah, he's
So
not doing Home Alone nostalgia. Well, he did like a commercial or two, but yeah,
yeah,
like once or like there's a few like Christmas Home Alone nostalgia commercials he did. Uh, but you're right. Now, I have an interesting theory about child actors, and I would like to hear your thoughts on this. Okay, I don't agree with how people decide whether or not a child actor is good or not, because it seems like they always base it on whether or not the kid is doing things kids shouldn't do. Like when they point out good child actors, it's always like when a kid is like in like some drama where their mom's like a heroin addict or a prostitute, and it's like, oh my god, you see like the little kid, they're around all these like adult situations and things. Like, look at this little kid helping her mom wash out her heroin needles or try to like wake her up from her drunken stupor. Kids aren't supposed to know that stuff.
right.
But, it's like, we're like, yes, that child's doing a good job acting because kids aren't supposed to be doing that stuff. And then I think, well, what about like child actors like the Macaulay Culkin and all that who can carry a movie? Like, think about how hard it is to carry a movie. That's things that even like some adult actors can't do. When you really think about it, Home Alone, it's just him for most of the movie, and he has to. That's on the movie is effectively all on his shoulders. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So what do you think? Do you think like they judge child? Because think about it, a lot of those child actors that do the dramatic stuff where they like pretend to know what drugs are or whatever, a lot of times they really don't go on to have like big careers. Think about this: Leonardo DiCaprio, he was a child actor, but he was in like sitcoms and stuff. He spent like he was in some sitcom junk, and then like he was in teen
Yeah.
movies, and it really wasn't until like near his like late teens, early 20s that he was kind of like in more like actually like movies where you have to really act, like What's Eating Gilbert Grape, where he plays a, mentally disabled kid and all that.
Yeah, but I mean, also like think about this, like going back to Macaulay Culkin, like a lot of these celebrities like have really like and I'm not saying that this is the case for all of them, but like a lot of celebrities have like they have like personality disorders or they're like narcissistic or something like that.
Yeah.
But like think about it this way, like Macaulay Culkin was like the child icon of the 90s, and yet like he handled his fame better than like most adults did. Like, he still went to school and like was a normal kid. And like I don't necessarily think that this is a bad thing, but like, Leonardo DiCaprio, uh, you know, he kind of seems like he has a big ego because he's Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's
Yeah.
one of these guys that like now that he's in his 40s, he like, he gets a new like, 20-year-old model girlfriend every 2 years.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that is pretty because it's like you don't really have to go as young as 25. Like, there's plenty of like 30-year-old women, even 40-year-old women that are still like hot, like
oh
yeah,
yeah.
so it's weird to have like that like no, they must be under 20 cuz especially in Hollywood. I mean, you got like 50-year-old actresses that still look like smoke shows. So it's like a weird
Oh
thing.
yes.
That's always the weird thing with like those actors and the obsession with youth. It's like most guys, if they saw like a hot woman, they wouldn't be like, oh, but how old is she? How? But it's like, who cares? She's hot. She's hot. What more
Yeah,
than
well it's like
are her boobs big? Okay, cool, good enough for me.
yeah, well it's like Selma Hayek is like 50 or like 51 now, and like I would take Selma Hayek over like the vast majority of like 20-something-year-old like Instagram models out there,
Yeah, I
you
mean, her
know?
fucking boobs are fine. She's got amazing boobs. Who cares about anything else? Oh, but she's like 50. Who cares? Who cares? She's hot, big boobs. Like, well, what else do you need?
Yeah.
It's like a weird mental thing. You know who has that? Mersh. Mersh, he has that ego. And I don't know why, because he was on Opie and Anthony. There's people who have been in big movies who don't have ego. Who, like Martin Scorsese, does not have an ego. He's a very unpretentious type person, but he's one of the biggest, most important filmmakers of all time. No ego on that guy. But Mersh, a guy that one time showed up on Opie and Anthony for like 5 minutes or whatever, and a guy that opened up X Fest one time. Biggest
You're
ego.
you're also forgetting that he opens for Doug Stanhope
One
once.
time, that's true.
He he loves to bring that up. And look, I actually like Doug Stanhope.
Yeah,
He's
he's
another
great.
one like Pauly Shore that gets he gets like a lot of shit kind of, but he's good. But like you open up for Doug Stanhope once and like that's cool, but like that doesn't honestly make you like a better like radio host than me or you. Like I saw your setup. Like your setup looks like infinitely better than most like professional like podcasts
Yeah,
I've
and
seen.
this is literally like a $10 okay, it cost a little bit more than that. But this is like a backdrop they would put in like an elementary school like photography day, with a couple of
Right.
like $10 like tiny poster boards. I mean, sure, I I got this mixer, I got this and all that. So actually there's probably close to over $1,000 of equipment. Okay, not also the computer, so probably like 2,000. This TV, I didn't pay for it. I just got it from a guy. Okay, and this
Right,
chair.
right.
Okay, there's probably almost $3,000 worth of equipment here. But that's not really that much money. I mean, Merch claims he makes a lot of money. But yeah, just complete unearned entitlement. You know who I think doesn't have that? Pauly Shore. Pauly Shore is sort of a nep, nepo baby or whatever, but you know, his movies were successful. They made a lot. You would be surprised how much money Encino Man made, how much money all his other stuff made. But once they stopped being popular, he just went away. Pauly Shore, he just went away and he never bothered anyone again, pretty much. I could be missing out on some Shore lore, but he seems to be how he is in the movie, very laid back, like, yeah, man, ha 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 ha.
You know who else is very laid back for being like an A-lister is Keanu Reeves,
Oh yeah.
actually. Which is interesting because like Keanu Reeves, much like Brendan Fraser, and much and not so much like Pauly Shore, but a little bit like Keanu Reeves like had a big career as like a child. He's another one who was a child actor, and then he became like a, and then he really like took off. Like once The Matrix was like a thing,
Oh
and
yeah.
then he had like there was a period of time where like he didn't really make any movies, and it really wasn't until like 10 years ago when John Wick came out that he kind of resurfaced, and now we're kind of in what I like to call the Keanu Sans,
Yes.
where he's just everywhere now.
Johnny
So
Silverhand, The Matrix. They made another Matrix movie. Some people like it, some people don't. Um, it did fail my measurement of whether or not a movie is successful. That's a secret rating that I won't say publicly.
yeah,
My secret rating on whether or not a movie is good. Uh, if Matrix Revolutions or whatever it's called, it failed. Batman v Superman failed at it. But I don't want to tell people what exactly that Matrix for a movie being good or not. It's a special Matrix. It only applies to a few films. But they failed a test that was very important for me at that time. Um, but yeah, Keanu, he's great. The John Wicks, he was in the SpongeBob movie or something. He still refuses to do the Marvel movies, which is like cool. But another actor that of course we really like, Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser, of course, is in the movie Encino Man. He plays a caveman, and this was his second movie role. Um, I know we're going through all of his films, but his first film, he's only in like one scene, but it is like a speaking part. But he doesn't have a name. He's just Sailor number 2 or whatever. I forget
yeah,
exactly, but this was like,
yeah. He was an extra.
no, not an extra. He actually had a part, but minor part, one scene or whatever. But this is the movie that made him. This is the movie that really started off his career, Encino Man, and it makes a lot of sense to start with Encino Man, because the other guy who's in this movie, the Everywhere at Once guy, he also won an award same night. It just makes sense to start here all the way till we get to the whale, the big whale. That's my Moby Dick, the whale, the great white whale. But I liked Encino Man. I didn't much care. I think I said this. I didn't much care for Pauly Shore, but I found him likable. I found Sean Astin to be like an asshole in this movie. I thought he kind of sucked. What about you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. On the one hand, I kind of thought that I was like watching the movie, like wondering if like Sean Astin was like meant to be an asshole, or like if that was like part of his like character and it was intentional, or if it was just like him, like like really being an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah,
If that
cuz
makes sense.
yeah, cuz I get the idea is that his arc is he cares about being popular, but he doesn't care about his friends or whatever, but he's way too focused on that and he just comes off as kind of creepy and annoying to that girl. Like when he shows her, it's like,
Yeah,
hey, look at our old baby pictures. I saw you naked before, and it's like that's like weird. It's weird that you have a picture of a naked little girl on you. That's like, what the hell is your problem, man? It's creepy stalker stuff.
yeah.
And like he doesn't know
Well,
how he doesn't learn how to not be creepy. He just learns how to like accept himself and accept Stony as the way he is and not care about being popular. I I think he should have learned a bigger lesson. But there's that part in the movie where because the girl he's after wants to go to the prom with Link and not him, he decides to send Link away. Like he's a dog where it's just like we're gonna leave him on the side of the road and just make him wander off. But it's like he's gonna if you do that he's gonna die. He barely understands how anything works. He doesn't understand that you're supposed to use money to buy food or like whatever. He could get seriously hurt or hurt someone else or even die, and he's like, no man, I got to because I'm jealous that a girl likes him more than me. And it just seems like a very like it's way too mean of a thing to do, I feel. And then Pauly Shore tries to stop him, and then they get in a fight, and he punches Pauly Shore like so hard it like causes him to like be bleeding.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's also kind of like maybe a commentary on like Southern California like culture too, maybe. Uh,
How so?
you know, I well, I mean, well, because people like LA, like I've never lived in LA, but I've been there a few times, and like a lot of people like in California, or at least in Southern California, some of them like tend to have like really big egos because like they think, oh, we're close to like the entertainment industry, right? So they kind of have like that we're better than you, and that's kind of like what uh you know Sean Astin, like what his character like I guess had
Ah,
in that movie.
yeah, I can definitely kind of see that. I do think he was too mean. Uh, what about the bully? The bully, he's actually like the son of Dom DeLuise. You know that guy?
Uh, uh, oh, really?
Yeah, Dom
Yeah.
DeLuise, who, well, Sean Astin, um, not the biological son of, but like his father, the guy that married his mom, John Astin, who was Gomez
Right.
in the Adams Family. He's actually that guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
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 yeah. That's right.
yeah. Still alive. He lives in Maryland, which is where I live. He lives, I think, maybe like 30 minutes away, which is kind of interesting.
Cool.
Yeah. Um, but the bully, there was something about him that rubbed me the wrong way. Like, his face, like the face and the way he acted, something about it felt weird. Did you kind of feel that too?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that might have been like intentional of them to do that though in the movie, right? Like
Yeah,
the
but
bully's kind of. supposed to rub you the wrong way.
Yeah, but like
So
in like a weird way with like his face. There was something weird about the face and how he acted, and I think I know what it is. Have you ever seen the movie The Room?
uh not in a long not in a long time.
But you're
Actually, no, is that based off the game The Room?
um it's Tommy Wiseau. It's considered the worst movie ever.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah.
So
Well, you remember that one character? I'm forgetting his name, but there's that character that goes into like Tommy's like living room with his girlfriend, and they start to like
yeah, yeah.
and he leaves his underwears there. The bully kind of looks and acts like that guy.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that now.
Yeah, and I think that's what rubbed me. That's what made me think this guy had something off about him. A weird thing. I think we mentioned the caveman. I think Brendan Fraser was pretty funny. I think he did a really good job here. He was good at doing all this like physical acting stuff because he's jumping around doing caveman antics. Um, and I think he made a good comedy pairing with Pauly Shore because, like, Brendan Fraser's like 6'3", Pauly Shore's a little bit shorter, so it's like tall guy, short guy. You know, that's a classic kind of like comedy dynamic, big guy, little guy. And I think it worked pretty well. I liked Pauly Shore with Link more than I liked Pauly Shore with Sean Astin. Uh, they just didn't really do anything with me. I didn't find Sean Astin to be like funny, and I kind of wonder, why he was really even the main character. I think you could have just made this movie with Pauly Shore and the Caveman, and I think that would have worked, maybe even better. And maybe bring in the computer
Yeah.
club kid played by K Kwan or his name. I'm bad with names. Um, and another thing I like is, when it's just the caveman, there's a lot more, because he can't talk and stuff. He's a caveman. He doesn't know all the language words. There's a lot more visual, like, filmmaking there where you kind of have to, like, communicate without saying, what is this caveman kind of feeling? What's he trying to, like, say? So it's like, oh, he's looking at the bones. He's looking at his bones. He's looking at himself being like, oh, like
Right.
when he goes to the museum, that's a pretty neat sequence because it is mostly visual kind of stuff like being conveyed. I always like stuff like that in films. I think this is a decently directed film. It's not lazy. A lot of times comedy films are lazy. There's a lot of like just flat shots because who cares? Just have the comedian do their jokes, do their bits, and
Right.
yeah. But there's some.
It's especially like in the 90s too. Like it would have been really easy for them to take like the lazy approach, and they didn't. So
No, I think there's a couple nice shots when they're like on the roller coaster, when they're at the museum, when like the caveman is doing stuff. There's like some first person stuff. There's stuff that looks good. There's effort put into this movie. That's at least how I feel. Um, I did enjoy Brendan Fraser. I understand why this kind of was like the movie that really started up his career. And I do also kind of understand why this is the movie that kind of started up Pauly Shore. In all of like Pauly Shore's like 90s movies, Brendan Fraser makes cameos in them. So like,
yeah,
they worked well together. They worked well as like a comedic kind of pair. But Brendan Fraser, he'd go on to kind of do more action stuff with the Mummy, and then all the drama with his career would happen: the rise, the fall, the rise again. Um, but I did think it was funny at times. Mainly the caveman stuff is what I enjoyed. I was mostly indifferent to Pauly Shore. What did you think about? I mean, he's barely in the movie except for like 5 or so scenes. But what did you think about Ki Kwan? I think. What'd you think of him?
To be honest, like I thought he was okay, but like you, I wasn't really paying much attention to him. I was mainly fixated on like Brendan Fraser.
Yes,
So
yes, he had a lot more screen presence. Uh, here, so one thing I like is the little switcheroo they kind of do, where it's like the bullies, they find out that like Brendan Fraser is actually a caveman. So they're going to the prom because you know they're about to crown Brendan Fraser as the caveman, as the prom queen or king. I don't know. Wow, I'm stupid. Um, but then he goes and he's like, "Hey, I got truth. This guy, he's not a foreign exchange student. He's actually a prehistoric cave guy." And then no one gives a shit because like that's kind of cool that he's a caveman. What, you're telling me this guy rode on dinosaurs and stuff like Fred Flintstone? Wow, that's awesome. I like him even more now. And that's kind of how that little conflict ends. And that's like that was fun. I enjoyed that little fun shake up. Let me think. Yeah, I think the movie's fun. I would have definitely liked this movie better if I was a teenager in the year 1993, but that is not the case. Sometimes stuff products of their time, it made kids laugh when it came out. That's all that really matters. It's kind of goofy with a lot of its stuff, but there is some stuff that's like good that I do enjoy. Um, but Sam, you gave me an idea. You proposed the possibility of an Encino Man remake, but with a twist. What was that exactly?
well, I mean, I was saying that like the thing I found the whole premise of Encino Man I kind of found funny, right? Because they dig Brandon Fraser up and he's like he's a caveman,
Yeah.
but like in modern day California, they're like famous for having like all the homeless people wandering around.
Yep.
So like what if like Brendan Fraser were like some homeless, guy like a hobo or something, and they pick him up and whatnot. So
So instead of a caveman, they just pick up a random bum on the street and they're like, hey, Stony, I just found this guy underneath the freeway trying to inject heroin. I think if we take him to school, he can help us be popular.
well, I mean, yeah, well, yeah, and like they could like nowadays like all the kids want to like virtue signal, right? So they
Yeah.
could be like, well, we're helping this homeless guy out, or something like that, right? So
Yeah, they can all take turns like spraying the water hose on him, making him clean. They can take turns shampooing his hair. They can take turns taking him to rehab. They can clip his toenails. All the sorts of fun things that kids love.
right, right. Well, the other thing I kind of was thinking too is you remember those Geico caveman commercials like they did like in the mid
Yeah.
2000s, right?
Yeah.
Like I was actually thinking like, how many of those were like inspired by Encino Man?
All of them.
Um,
Every single one of them.
yeah. So
They made a TV show based off the Geico caveman commercials.
yeah, yeah, I I know they made a show, but I don't know if it ever like actually aired. I think there was like a pilot or something.
No,
So
no, it aired. It aired. They had multiple episodes.
oh really? I'll have to check that out later
No, it's like the
on.
worst TV
So
show ever. It's the worst TV show ever made. You know they actually made an Encino Man TV show?
I did read I did read that when I
On the
was
Wikipedia
researching the
page.
film last night, yes.
Yeah, it was called Encino Women, cause I spoilers from a stupid comedy from the early '90s, but the way the movie ends is it turns out Brendan Fraser's caveman girlfriend is alive and was also frozen and basically got unfrozen like from an like one of those little mini quakes that California has. And
Right.
you know, Paul, you know, they end up like walking into the bathroom and seeing like the caveman girl like bathing like so she's not dirty like a homeless person. And that's also how the movie. What do you think about the ending of Encino Man?
I mean, I I thought the ending was kind of, uh I thought it was okay. It wasn't like, great, but it was pretty typical of like a 90s comedy.
Yeah,
So,
well, I did not. What I kind of more mean is it just like it ends really abruptly. Like it cuts to like the caveman girl puts on normal people clothes and now looks like a normal person mostly, and then it just cuts to Brendan Fraser smiling, and then boom, end credits, done. And it was like weirdly like abrupt. It kind of reminded me of, are you familiar with the works of Dario Argento?
no, I can't say I am. I've heard the name, but I haven't seen any of his stuff.
Yeah,
So,
filmmaker. It's still alive, but '70s and '80s, super popular, making giallo, which is like Italian horror films. And in those movies, they would always have
right.
abrupt endings. It's like they would kill the killer would die, and then boom, cut, movie over. Like there was no kind of like you spend like a little bit kind of like dwelling on what happened. It's like, nope, movie over, leave, it's over. Okay, bad guy's done. Get out of
Well,
here.
I maybe they didn't know how to end the movie for Encino Man. Like that was my thought. Like maybe they just abruptly ended it because like they didn't know how to end it.
Yeah, because it
So,
is only like an hour 28 minutes. It just kind of like, yep, he's got his girlfriend. Like they don't really even have a scene together or anything. Like a more better epilogue to the story would be maybe them dancing at the pool party, but it's just like he's just smiling at his girl looking like pretty, and then done, movie over. It just very abrupt. And I feel like that whole kind of scene is abrupt cuz they finally get the after prom pool party, but like they didn't even finish building the pool. They just dug like a hole. They didn't like put any lining in it. They didn't put any of that stuff in it. It's just a hole in the ground.
right.
Yeah, cuz I have a pool. I know a thing or two about pools, and that did not look like a completed pool to me. I'm going to have to write a letter complaining to the filmmakers.
Well, I mean, that movie is 30 years old. You might
Uh Explain to me
it's not
why
like
that matters.
it's not like
I mean,
well, I mean,
think about this, right? George Lucas made Star Wars in like 1977. Then in
yeah.
1979, he made the special editions where he cleaned up some effects, he added some deleted scenes, cut scenes back in, and also he added in a whole bunch of like CGI aliens that run across the screen going and all kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, well,
So why can't we do a special edition for Encino Man where they use CGI technology to make that pool look more complete?
you know what? With AI technology now, like I bet you could do anything.
I mean, we can
In
bring dead
fact,
people back
like
to life. So we should be able to fix this pool in Encino Man.
yeah, and furthermore, I actually think you should be the guy to like, helm this project.
I
So
should. Not the filmmaking aspect, just the fixing the pool aspect. I'll be the guy.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
put in
yeah.
the lining and I'll put in the proper chlorine tablets and all that. They can do that stupid, oh, I'm making a movie. Like, no, thank you. Okay. I want to do the grueling grunt labor that normally they would make Mexican people do. That's what I want to do. Keep those cameras away from me. Yeah, Encino Man 2. We'll have a proper pool sequence. We'll bring them all back. Do you think they'll make now that like two of the guys in that movie are Oscar winners? Do you think like there's now nostalgia for Encino Man? Like, do you think they're gonna like make a sequel like years later, like they've done with like Ghostbusters and so many other franchises?
Yeah, well, I mean, I never thought they'd make a sequel to Bill and Ted,
That's
all
right.
these years later,
Bill and
and
Ted
yet they
3.
did. So anything is possible, right?
Yeah, Encino
Um,
Man 2. What are your ideas for Encino Man 2? Well, it's got to be like a modern movie stuff. So there needs to be a bunch of CGI bullshit. So what if like it turns out a bunch of dinosaurs got like also frozen and they unfreeze. So Pauly Shore, he still lives with his mom. And Sean Astin, he bought his parents' house and he lives there with like his family and his pool. And just one day, like a dinosaur comes out, right? Just kind of like burst out of the pool, and Pauly Shore is like, ha ha ha, like it's a baby pterodactyl or something. It's like, oh, major birdage, brah. Let's go get a Slurpee. I'm like almost 60. And then he
yeah,
takes like, yeah.
well, you could tie it into global warming too, or something like that. Like
That would make the movie
y-
smarter because it's talking about current issues. Be like, and
right.
some people
Well,
might
yeah,
point out it's like,
in
well, how
Hollywood,
does global warming affect stuff that's underneath the ground? That seems kind of, I don't know if that's science, but it's like, no, don't worry about it. Global warming caused this, whatever. It's a relevant topic. It means we're like woke because we care about climate change and we're like smart now. This is now a movie for smart people.
yeah, like Hollywood loves that shit, right? Like that's what they that's what they do. They commentate on everything.
Yeah, commentary. It's
So
commentary about the environment and life. So Pauly Shore takes the pterodactyl, puts in one of those like baby carriage things that you like that are like you like put on like your waist or whatever. So he's carrying the pterodactyl through the 7-Eleven, and it will be more like he'll be going through all the food and the pterodactyl will just be biting random people that walk by because it's a violent beast.
right.
And everyone's like, Polly, you can't be this is a dangerous animal or whatever. And it'd be like, nah, brah, me and Link, we got it. And then what happens is a bunch of other dinosaurs, they just come out of the ground. Boom, 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 CGI
No,
destruction everywhere.
no, no, no. I've got it because like he could say like bro, this is my service dinosaur or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Like that's another thing people do is like they'll say that like they'll say they have like a service dog, but it's just like their little like pet chihuahua or something. So
Yeah, or like an
yeah,
alligator. That's satire. That's commentary, social commentary. These are the great ideas you would find in Hollywood. I think we might have to worry. There's probably people listening in. They're going to steal our great idea for Encino Man 2. So anyway, the
yeah, yeah.
dinosaurs are running rampage, and there's like CGI action stuff. You might be wondering, why does this comedy need big CGI fight scene? And also, K Kwan, he's like a computer guy, right? Because he was in computer class. So he's now in charge of the biggest computer in California. And he's like calculating stuff. And he's like, oh my God, if the dinosaurs keep doing their dinosaur stuff, everyone's going to die for some reason. And it's like, why does this movie have such big stakes? This makes no sense. What is going on? How did we get here? Has our culture became just so destroyed that all we're doing is bastardizations of the past, and it's stuff that wasn't even that worthwhile to begin with? And it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, that's life now. You got a deal. So anyway, they end up like fighting the dinosaurs or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the other thing too is like, I think that would be really funny because people would be like, "Is this the Encino Man sequel or Jurassic Park 5 or
Why can't
something
it be
like
both?
that?"
How about it's both? Why not? I mean, give me one reason why because we just love putting franchises together now. That's all we do is we just shove all this shit together. It's just like Space Jam 2. It's like we got to see every character. Ready Player One, every character. What we should
Right,
do
right.
is, for no reason at all, there should be a scene where beloved children's character, the Iron Giant, who's all about pacifism, he should kill a bunch of people too. It has nothing to do with the rest of the story. No one comments on it. There's just a 5-minute scene of the Iron Giant violently fighting and killing people. Because that makes sense. That's a good idea.
What if the Iron Giant like fights dinosaurs too?
He fights dinosaurs, all types of dinosaurs. There could be like a kid who, like, Sean Astin's kids, one of them could be like, that's not what dinosaurs are supposed to look like. They had birds and looked lame and stupid. They weren't actually giant lizards. And then that kid gets like picked up by like a dinosaur or whatever. It's like, I'm sorry I made fun of you, dinosaurs. Or something like that. Maybe the dinosaurs from the 90s sitcom could also show up.
There you go. I mean, we might as well. We're already lumping everyone in.
Yeah, we
So
should, what if there should be a scene, right? You know how they had Spider-Man, like No Way Home, where all the Spider-Men showed up?
yeah.
What if every Pauly Shore character showed up? Like Pauly Shore from that army movie he did, Pauly Shore from Encino Man, Pauly Shore from the movie where he was the farmer, Pauly Shore from the movie where he did like jury duty or whatever. Like, what if they all come together and they all like team up to do something?
We get the Pauly Shore multiverse then.
The
I love it.
polyverse. No, wait, we'll call it the shore multi-shore or polyverse, something like that. But yeah, it's all the Pauly Shores, and they team up to do something. We'll figure that out. There'll, for some reason there'll be a giant beam in the sky and a bunch of things will be getting destroyed. Who even knows? But they'll be Pauly Shoring it up. Are you gonna have a good time? Well, I'm pretty damn Pauly sure you will. So yeah, we just wrote the greatest movie of all time, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, and we did it. We did it in like an hour. We only did it in like 30 minutes.
Yeah,
So
it didn't take that long. We don't have. Okay, you actually wrote books, so that's not fair. Would you like to include all the characters from the books you've written also into this movie?
I mean, yeah, we
You should
might
get
as
that free
well.
promotion.
If
You should use the studio's dime and this pre-existing franchise to, of course, enrich yourself and promote yourself, because that's like a cool thing to do now.
Yeah, well, I mean, so my books are like political thrillers that deal with like
So,
counterterrorism. So we could
well,
have
think
like
about this. Don't win.
Al Qaeda like riding the dinosaurs,
Yes. Oh,
and
because think
then
about this, right?
like then
If
And then, like,
dinosaurs were running rampage, would that not be
yeah,
terrorism? Wouldn't you be terrified if
yeah,
dinosaurs
yeah.
like? Do you think the dinosaurs would be able to pull off the hijacking of the airplane into 9/11?
I'll do one better. Like, what if instead of airplanes, they just use pterodactyls that are flying into
Yeah, the
the?
Taliban, they're riding on the pterodactyls and then they crash into like the twin towers, cuz yeah, what if there's like a also a time vortex that takes them back to like right before what if there's like a scene, right? Where all the Pauly Shores, they get into a time vortex and they go to like 9/11 and they're on the airplane. They're gonna do what Mark Wahlberg said he would do if he was on that airplane, and they kick the terrorist's ass, and then they stop the plane. But then the towers still get exploded due to the base charges at the bottom of the tower.
Oh yeah, so in like a grand plot twist, like Pauly Shore like tries to stop 9/11 but fails.
He
Still,
fails. He fails. He finds out that it actually was done by the U.S. government. So then all the Pauly Shores, they start an investigation and they form a class action lawsuit or whatever
hold
against the U.S.
hold
government.
up, hold up. What if Pauly Shore teams up with Alex Jones? But it's not the Alex Jones we know. It's the Alex Jones from A Scanner Darkly.
Oh,
Um,
and they team up with the Alex Jones from Walking Life.
there we go. Yeah, there we
So, like,
go.
that's like 5 Pauly Shores and 2 Alex Jones, which who even knows? Like, could you imagine the brain power? Could you, like, imagine the big brain conversation 5 Pauly Shores and 2 Alex Jones would have? I think they would uncover the secrets of the universe. They would definitely prove George Bush did 9/11 and bring these people to justice.
Yeah, I mean, get out of the way, Avengers.
Fuck the
Like
Avengers.
we just need all the Pauly Shores and all the Alex Joneses, and that's like the ultimate superhero team right there. So
That team beats every X-Men. Fuck them. Avengers. Fuck them. Justice League. Fuck them. We have 5. We have 5 Pauly. I'm sorry. We have 5
yeah,
Pauly
yeah,
Shores, 2 Alex Jones from the Alex Jones from the Richard Linklater animated films. They're gonna solve all the world's problems. They're gonna defeat the terrorists. They're gonna defeat the shadow cabal of you know what? Bringing it back to Encino Man. What if it turns out the government is actually ran by human hybrid dinosaurs that run our society from the shadows?
there we go. Yeah, that would be even better.
This
So
movie gets better and better. Let's see. Okay, they prove there's a epic court drama where they show that George Bush was behind 9/11. They fight the lizard men, they fight the dinosaurs, they fight Al-Qaeda, they fight terrorism both here and abroad. Uh they basically create a world peace, super society thanks to the powers that are inherent in Pauly Shore.
yeah, everyone was making fun of Pauly Shore for all of this time, but like, who knew that he was going to be the savior of humanity,
Yeah, of
right?
course. Everyone made fun of him. They say, "Oh, Alex Jones, he made fun of dead children or something." Oh, Pauly Shore, he's not super funny. Basically, same guy, pretty much. Uh, they all laughed at them. They all called them losers who would never accomplish anything. They saved the entire fucking world and then some. They saved the entire multiverse. How about that?
Whoa, yeah, that's even better if they save the entire if they save the entire multiverse.
They
So
should. They'll save They'll rename it the Pauly Shore verse, or the Polyverse, or what the Alex
yeah,
verse. I don't know. They're info warriors. I want to keep this going. Yeah, everyone mocked them, but they're actually heroes and they're fucking awesome. And everyone that ever mocked them, there'll be a scene where all the parents. Okay, there'll be a scene where all the parents that claim their kids died in Sandy Hook are like, they have to humble themselves in front of the Alex Joneses. They're like, we're sorry, we're sorry, we're sorry. We didn't know you would save the world. We didn't know saying our children didn't die in a mass shooting would save the world somehow.
right, yeah. Just make it like super over the top. Yeah.
The
So
greatest. I think we made the greatest movie ever. I think this could be a franchise. I'm talking movies, TV, a cinematic universe, a cinematic
well, yeah,
polyverse. McDonald's
yeah.
Happy Meal toys.
We could make a cinematic universe with Pauly Shore and Alex Jones, and then we also get like Joe Rogan.
We should
Like
get yeah,
we
he's
also get
Alex Jones' friend. That makes sense.
we also get 90s era Joe Rogan.
From news
in
radio.
on this too.
There's a
So
scene where the Pauly Shores and the Alexes, they go to the set of news radio. And it's like, Joe, we need your help. I'm kind of retarded. We need your help to save the universe.
yeah.
So that would be good. You know what I realized? Did you know that every main like cast guy from the TV show The Man Show is now like a political commentator? They're now thought leaders.
Yeah. Well, Adam Carolla.
Adam Carolla,
is one of my favorites.
Yeah,
So
he's funny. I love Drawn Together. Yeah, but isn't it sad that those are our thought leaders, the guys from The Man Show? Man, how screwed are we our society? But luckily, who cares? Because we're going to be multi-trillionaires because we came up with the greatest movie idea of all time.
yeah, definitely. That's what matters at the end of the day.
Encino Man 2. Pauly Shores team up with the Alex Joneses and they take over they save the universe. Well,
yeah.
Greatest movie of all time. Greatest movie.
I think we're well on our way to making $1 billion. So
I think even more than $1 billion. I think this movie is better than all of the Avengers movies. We have the dinosaurs. We have Pauly Shore. We have all the stuff from your books. There could be like a scene where Merch gets eaten by a dinosaur, maybe.
yeah, but then the dinosaur like spits him out because he's too like fat and too like
he's too gross.
He's too bony, right?
Yeah, he's
he's
just too gross and disgusting that even the violent lizard beast refuse to eat him. You remember Jurassic Park?
Yeah, of course.
Well, you know how Newman from Seinfeld is in it?
Yeah.
You want to hear a crazy thing I believed as a kid? You know how like he dies in that movie?
Yeah, well, yeah. That guy is always dying in movies too. So
He didn't die in Space Jam.
That's true.
That is true.
He did die in that one like Sharon Stone movie though.
Oh wow, I haven't seen that one. But
so
when I was a kid, I thought if you died in a movie, you weren't allowed to be in movies anymore because that would break the illusion that you actually died.
Yeah. Well, like
so when I
was a really young kid, like I thought if you died in a movie, you died in real life or something like that. So
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. So when I watched Space Jam, I was always kind of sad when he showed up in that movie because I'm like, oh man, I really like Space Jam, but it's pretty sad that this fat guy is gonna get eaten by a dinosaur. we
oh yeah, you thought they were the same guy then. I
Yeah,
see.
I thought they were the same guy because they were played by the same actor. I thought he went from being Michael Jordan's manager, playing basketball with the Looney Tunes, to being violently eaten by a dinosaur.
Yeah.
You know what we should do?
That
We should. You know what they should have done in Space Jam 2? They should have had one of the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park spit him out. And then he's like on the basketball court. He's like, I'm back. And then he starts dunking b-balls and stuff. Like he's their ace in the hole. You know, I don't see the movie,
yeah.
but I assume there's like a scene where they're like, it seems like the bad guys are gonna win, but then boom, covered in vomit, there's the fat guy from Seinfeld. It's like, all right, let's do this. And he just starts slam dunking on him.
Yeah, Newman finally saves the day.
Newman,
So.
come on, it's Slam, and welcome to the jam. And then post-credit scene is it opens on Jerry Seinfeld's, living room. And he's like, who is, doorbell rings, who is it? He opens the door and it's Newman, and he just throws a basketball right at Jerry's face and it breaks his nose. And that's our post-credit scene.
Yeah, and then it ends with the Curb Your Enthusiasm music too.
Oh
so.
shit! Imagine like they did like in our movie. What if what if Larry David got like from Curb Your Enthusiasm? What if he got like what if he went to the Seinfeld universe? They might have even done that on that show. That seems like a thing.
Well, yeah, you know that Larry was basically like the co-creator of Seinfeld, right?
Yeah, that's why I mentioned him in Seinfeld together.
Yeah,
that's why I thought you said
yeah,
Curb.
That's why I brought up Curb Your Enthusiasm, and yeah, I think they actually did do that in like one of the seasons.
They might have.
So
yeah. Yeah, but
they did like a whole thing like what if Seinfeld were on HBO or something like that. So
that would be great. If Seinfeld was on HBO, then I don't think Michael Richards would have gotten in much trouble.
Probably not. So
yeah, what if there's like a scene where we time travel like we can do like what if there's like a scene where we time travel back to that fateful day at the Laugh Factory and we stop Michael Richards from saying the N-word?
Oh man, I mean that could be like one of those like history like altering events maybe.
Yeah, like we stop Michael Richards from saying the N-word, and then we go back and we see what the present looks like now that we've changed the past. And somehow, I don't know how, Adolf Hitler is like alive again, and the Nazis won World War II. And you're like,
how did
that happen? We didn't
even so much worse. So
how did it happen? We went to the year like 2004. How did that change stuff that happened in 1940? And it's like that's what happens when you travel through time. You screw up the whole world. You stop Michael Richards from saying the N-word. Next thing you know, we lose the war.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, we have made some great movie ideas.
Yeah. Not just that, but like Hitler killed all the Jews. But so like was it worth it to really stop Michael Richards from saying the N-word? No, it wasn't, because
it was not.
Now an entire population of people like went extinct. So
and they didn't make Seinfeld. Who would have been able to, that's interesting,
right?
Because if he killed all the Jews, then who would make Seinfeld? White people,
right? Yeah.
No, thank you.
Well,
What?
like, yeah, comedy as we know it wouldn't exist.
We wouldn't have
So
comedy, and it would create some kind of weird time paradox. Because if there's no Seinfeld, there's no comedy. Then how does Michael Richards get at the Laugh Factory? The whole timeline would just start to unravel, and that would be the plot. Is that time's falling apart? So we have to go back in time and make sure that Michael Richards does in fact say the N word. This is good.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah. It turns out this one moment in history, like
It was a linchpin event.
it was like this linchpin in humanity, but nobody knew it.
No one knew how important it was for that to commence. Man, we are really good at coming up with these movie ideas.
We are, but anyway. Well, I've actually got to sign off, but
Yeah,
I
we
appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
So.
Well, anyway, our final thoughts on Encino Man. Go. And thoughts on the start, like where Brendan Fraser is at this point in his career, I guess. Like, you'd be like, this is a good move. He's going on up.
Well, I mean, listen, I will say that, like, I did enjoy the film, and, like, one of the things I was thinking afterwards is, like, Brendan Fraser is, like, one of these actors that, like, that is, like, really versatile. Like, he can do comedy, he can do action, and, like, now he can do, like, these really, like, heavy drama,
Yes, comedy, action, drama. He
movie.
reminds me a lot of Bruce Campbell, because Bruce Campbell was a very handsome guy who could do action and he could do comedy, but he just never took off. But you're right, he's a very versatile guy who can do drama, action, comedy, and we'll kind of see where that. Well, he can't do action anymore because I don't know if you're up on your Brendan Fraser lore. But what happened is one day when he was clearing branches off like his roof, he fell off the ladder and like fucked up his back, and he can't do like action stuff anymore.
Right.
That's really sad.
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
here
no, that
he's
is.
physical. He's physical, and later he get in like awesome shape. And I love the Mummy movies. I think this is a good start. Career nothing but up until it starts to go down. And well, anyway, Sam. Final thoughts on who do you think is better, Brendan Fraser or Mersh?
Oh, easily Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, I guess
So.
super successful actor. Nobody on the internet. Hard choice. Hard choice indeed. I'm gonna say.
There.
I'm gonna say Brendan Fraser. I'm gonna say him. I think everyone in this movie was more famous and successful and better people than Mersh. I know it's a really low bar.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. So.
Yeah, but anyway, we wrote amazing movie ideas. We covered a pretty fun '90s film. I liked it. I thought Pauly Shore was good. I thought Brendan Fraser was good. You can kind of tell that he's like the best one there. He's the funniest. He's the coolest. K-Quan, he was good. He was fine. Both those guys are going to go on to have cool stuff. He's going to be in a lot more movies. He's in that Loki thing or whatever. And yeah.
Yeah.
Everything. Hey, it's all looking up on these guys right now. They had some rough times, but now they're back, baby. Brendan Fraser's in Killers of the Flower Moon. Haven't seen it yet. I might just wait until it's time to cover it on this podcast. But great to have you on. And, well, that would be it, you guys. Until next time, this is I.D.K. signing off. Have a good day.